so a mix, if anything, a cold rain. And so I think that if we see that low stay further east, we'll certainly not see that much rain. I do want to say one thing to you, Tim. We still have about 2 minutes left, but what I really liked was one of the tweets that you sent out yesterday was when you said, regardless of what happens, this will be a snow chance, not a snowstorm. Like, you said this literally, less than 5 minutes ago, but no one's probably going, I say probably, I do not think anybody's going to be making snowmen, snow angels. It's not one of those setups. So even if we do see something, this isn't the big one that people always talk about. It's not.
It's not the big one. And yesterday I saw a post on social media that literally said, "This is the big one." And I said, well,
heavy sigh.
That's your page. You can post what you want to. But I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all. So we're not thinking that. We're not saying that. But anytime there's snow in the forecast or anything there's snow as a possibility, it's exciting. And so it's okay to get a little excited. But I kind of put this way to parents earlier. I wouldn't tell your kids about the snow possibility. It's fun if it's a surprise, but it's no fun if it's a disappointment. So there's a very good chance of disappointment with this one, and I would not want to put that on them at this point.
That's a very, very good point. We wouldn't feel that way if we were forecasting a hurricane or severe weather, but when it comes to snow, as long as it's not going to be a big ice storm, it's normally associated, at least in the Carolinas, with sorts of excitement, especially on a long weekend. I definitely want to make sure that I at least note this before we go, since we do have less than a minute. Ashwaubenon, Avery County, we mentioned before, some of those counties are on a delay for tomorrow. There will be some concerns about slick areas on the roadways tomorrow if you're traveling in any of those counties. So just be mindful of that. And Tim, you mentioned this earlier and we had it in the newscast, but they also do have a chance to see another burst of snow Saturday morning. Not Sunday morning, Saturday morning.
Sure, and some of our counties up here in the Triad, we call them our foothill counties basically, but from Wilkesboro through Mount Airy and these areas, you could actually get a decent amount of snow falling from the air Saturday morning. So just kind of know that. Don't be shocked by it. If anything, it might be a coating on the grass, but something noteworthy at least, while the rest of us are getting a little bit of a nasty, chilly rain for a couple of hours.
And focusing in on what's going to happen on Sunday. We do hope to have a better grasp on what's going to happen Sunday by this time tomorrow. So, Tim, enjoy the rest of your night. We love having you on the show. Hopefully you feel the same way. And I'm sure I'll talk to you in 5 minutes as we complain about how hard this forecast is.
We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right. Bye, guys.
Good evening, everyone, inside the Impact Studio. I'm Colin Mayfield for the next 2 hours. We're going to start with the president, who welcomed the Florida Panthers to the White House, and amidst obviously a ton of things that the president has on his plate. Obviously thinking about the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis as it stands, with some of the clashes with protesters and ICE agents. But this, again, is focused on the Florida Panthers coming in. We'll have more from the White House later on these next 2 hours. But first, let's go to this.
Please welcome the 2025 Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, accompanied by Vincent Viola, owner of the Florida Panthers, and Matthew Tkachuk.
What a team, what a great job. What a great job. Please sit down. We'll have to spend a little time doing this because I watched some of those games and these guys know how to win, just like we knew how to win last week. We had a little victory. It was surgical, just like their victory, right, Duffy? It's an honor to welcome to the White House the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. Unbelievable team, unbelievable athletes, players. These men are responsible for the greatest feats in Panthers franchise history, and beyond that. You compare them to some of the greatest hockey teams ever, including the first ever President's Trophy, 3 straight final appearances, and the one that you didn't make. What the hell happened to you? You should have won that game. But it was good to do the little comeback, right? Comebacks are wonderful, actually. But the 3 is pretty good, right, Gary? And an incredible 2 straight Stanley Cup victories. And I just want to congratulate the unbelievable players. They have something different. Because I watched some of the games that it looked like it was going to be tough, and you pulled them out. You pulled them out for years. Well, Vinny's a winner, so you learn from the owner, I guess. And it's an honor to have Vinny with us. Thank you very much. He's going to speak in a couple of minutes. I always like to hear him speak because you never know what the hell's going to come out of his mouth. Where is he? You never know with Vinny, but boy, you've done a job here, huh? You and your people. Thank you. Your reps have been amazing. So we're grateful to be joined this afternoon by team owner Vinny Viola. And as you know, our general manager, Bill Z. Your reps have been amazing. So we're grateful to be joined this afternoon by team owner Vinny Viola. And as you know, our general manager, Bill Z. NHL head coaches of all time. Coach Paul Maurice. Where's Paul? Where's Paul? Boy, I'll tell you, I hope they're taking good care of you. Good care. That's a hell of a coach. Great coach. We're also pleased to be joined by NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. Great job. I remember a long time ago when you got that job, and I said they picked the right guy. You know that. And you've really shown it, as well as Attorney General Pam Bondi, wherever Pam is. Pam? Hi, Pam. She's doing great. She's a special person. And Secretaries Doug Burgum, Sean Duffy, and Chris Wright, who I hear has a birthday today. Is your birthday? What are you, about 32? You look so young. And you're doing great. You know, Doug Burgum said he's the greatest oil man in the world. I wanted Doug for the job. He said, no, there's one man better. He would only say one man. That's not, you know, because he's a very unusual guy. But he said, Chris Wright, and we are now drilling more oil than any time, any country ever in history, right? And oil prices in many states are down to $1.99 a gallon. That's like a major tax cut, right, Catherine? That's like a major tax cut. So what we did is we gave Doug the, which he probably liked better because he likes real estate. He's the biggest real estate person in history. He has the Department of the Interior. So he drills and he owns the land. And the combination's been lethal, right? And they've been great, and I appreciate it too. We're also here with FBI Director Kash Patel, who's a person that loves sports, right? Kash, you love the sports, and we love you. And Representatives Randy Fine. Randy, you did a great job the other day. You did a great job the other day. You know what I'm talking about. You got up there. Let them have it. Jimmy Petronas. Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy. Good job. John Rutherford. John, thank you. Thank you, John. And Michael Haradopoulos. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. So after a shortened off-season and a regular season plagued by injuries, the Florida Panthers entered the 2025 playoffs with extraordinary pressure to defend the title, but they also had an amazing aura about them. It was called the aura of winning. There's something nice about it. And that's what they did. But not only did you live up to the sky-high expectations, you gave us perhaps the most dominant playoff run in NHL history. The Panthers scored 94 goals in the playoffs, more than any team in a generation. You won a record 10 times on the road. That was, nobody's ever done that one before. You led the finals for over 255 minutes, the most of any team in NHL history. And you denied Canada the Stanley Cup for the 32nd straight year by... I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Matthew? We have a little competition with Canada. No, they're great people, though. They're great people. We're doing much better than Canada, but that's okay, right? We want them to do well, and they're going to do well. But 32nd straight year by defeating the Edmonton Oilers for the second year in a row, and they have a couple of really great players in that team, and they have a superstar, still a superstar, right? How's he feeling about his game? You can't lose, you got to win, right? You gonna explain it? Huh? But boy, I'll tell you, that was some game. On offense, no one was better than the man the Edmonton Journal named public enemy #1 star forward, Sam Bennett. Where's Sam Bennett? He's got a very powerful hand. He's a strong guy. Sam scored 15 playoff goals and earned the coveted Conn Smythe Trophy, making him the first skater in Panthers history to be named tournament MVP. That's fantastic on Sam. And perhaps the greatest single game performance goes to Sam Reinhart. Where's Sam? Who became the first player in 103 years to score 4 goals at a Stanley Cup clinching win, and that's 4 goals. So they say hat trick, but what do they call 4 goals? They don't do it because nobody ever does it, right? How many people? I've never heard of 4 goals in one game. I hear of a hat trick, but so did they have a nickname for that one? I don't know. Just you know what it's called? 4 goals. That's all you don't need a nickname. On the defensive side, legendary goalie, he's great. Sergei Bobrovsky, also known as Bob. Well, that's a good concept. That was a good idea. Notched 3 shutouts in each of the first 3 series, including a key game, #4. Shutout against Toronto in the second round. Played phenomenal hockey. Longtime Panther blue liner Aaron Ekblad led his fellow defenseman with a career-high 13-point scores, 19 playoff games, and that's close to another record. And team captain Alexander Barkov, known as Barky, was named the best defensive forward in the league for the 3rd time in the 2nd straight year. Much credit. Where's Barky? Where are those 2 guys? Good-looking people, young, beautiful people. I hate them. You hate standing here with all this power behind you. But I got power, too. It's called the United States military. I don't care. At 37 years old, Brad Marchand recorded 10 assists and 10 goals in the playoffs, including the clutch double overtime winner in Game 2 of the finals. And no skater had more ice time in the playoffs than Seth Jones, who was the workhorse on both sides of the puck. As we know, Seth will be representing America in the Milan Winter Olympics next month, alongside fellow Florida Panther Matthew Tkachuk, who's fantastic. I remember his father was very good. I don't know. I said, did you top his father? He said, well, my father had 500 and some odd goals. How many did you say? How many? Like that. A lot of goals. Close. I said, well, he says he ain't, but you will be. And your father would want you to be, because I know your father. He would want you to be. It's fantastic. You don't see that too often. We have a father who's great and a son who's great. You don't see it very often, but this is a case where you do. And say hello to your father for me, Matthew, okay? But he throws a big punch. I can see that.
Breaking news, guys. We've got NBC's Shaquille Brewster on the ground right now. He's been monitoring for clashes with ICE and protesters. Sounds like something's happening. Let's go to this now.
We're seeing these escalations happen much more quickly. If you can just show the line of officers and what they're telling us to pretty much stay where we are. There's nowhere we can even go at this point as they have that arrest, and as that arrest takes place a little bit further down. We're obviously keeping some distance, but Pete, if you could just circle around, just show how we're kind of, you see right there, and if you look at the entrance of the federal facility, you have officers just lined up, more officers than people here, it feels like right now, but we're just going to kind of stay here, stay in place as we watch what happens. And as I mentioned, an arrest or some sort of detention is happening back there, and it looks as if they're creating a space so that they can bring that person into the facility. Yeah, let's go this way, guys. And look right here, I'll just kind of narrate what you're seeing. Again, that person who was pulled by security agents, they're now they're behind that police line that, again, really just came out of nowhere seemingly. Clearly, this was something that was at least relatively planned, but there's at least one individual that is way in the back by the entrance of the facility that was taken back, and now you have protesters and law enforcement just in a direct clash. I don't know another word for it, but they're letting it be known that they don't like what they're seeing. We are getting our gas masks ready. Again, there's not anywhere we can go right now because of how the police came out, how quickly they came out, but it looks as if they're retreating right now. They're simply going back. They got the person it appears they were looking for, and now they're moving back to their position. It seems as if things are calming down a bit, but again, it happened in the blink of an eye. You saw, as we were waiting to be introduced, a quick escalation here on the ground. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and we now see the police moving back now, so that's giving us some space, that's actually giving us some place we can go at this point. To answer your question, the situation, and according to DHS, they say that this is something that started as a targeted arrest. And actually, let's flip back this way so we can get a little bit distance. I think this is the best way out of all the action. I'm going to pardon my back as I answer this question, but DHS says this is something that started as an arrest. They were targeting an immigrant, someone who was here illegally from Venezuela. They say that after trying to have a traffic stop, essentially, they pulled the car over, the car ran off, crashed into a parked vehicle, and then they say there was a pursuit on foot. So the person that they were looking for began running. That's when one individual officer, apparently, again, according to the DHS account, one officer got into a scuffle with this immigrant. They say two people came out of a nearby home and started attacking and ambushing the officer with a broom and a shovel. That is what then led to the officer, again, according to DHS, to use that firearm, shooting this man in the leg. That is then what led to that response that we saw last night, where it was yet another residential neighborhood where you saw the streets completely full. Here, I'm going to hand this off to you. Completely full with tear gas, those flashbangs, those direct clashes and interactions with protesters, where we saw in some instances protesters throwing ice at the federal agents, throwing rocks. Definitely an intense scene. That was something that was condemned by local leaders here. Even as they said, they believe it's the increase in the increased presence of the federal officials and law enforcement that's creating these constant clashes, these constant battles. Again, something that we just saw play out here once again as we're talking to you live on air. Yeah. That is something that a lot of people are asking about, and that's because this is not a law that is invoked very often. It's a 1800s law. It's something that hasn't been used since, I believe it was 1992 or 93, around the Rodney King riots. So there are really very serious questions about what that would look like on the ground. For President Trump, if you look at his social media, he says that he will use this to send federal troops to cities like Minneapolis to, in his words, protect ICE and to stop the protests that you're seeing and stop the attacks on ICE. The legality of that is questionable. We do know it would likely lead into a court battle, but this is something that I've been putting to some of the people that I've been talking to here on the ground. I've been asking them, are those scenes that you've been seeing of the intense clashes, are scenes like the one that you just saw behind me, are those deterring you from coming out? I say, I know you're against the increased immigration enforcement that you're seeing, but is any of that stopping you or making you second guess about what's happening and second guess coming out? And they tell me one after another, no, it's not. It's not having an impact. One gentleman earlier today saying it was last night's shooting that reinforced his decision to come back to this facility, to make it known that he doesn't like what he's seeing in his community. He doesn't like the way he says ICE agents and the federal law enforcement are treating his neighbors. This is something that feels like it's only going to continue as we see night after night, clash after clash, protests between members of the community and federal law enforcement one day after the other. Thank you, will do. I swear, I wish I could say I paid someone or something for that. That's crazy.
All right, folks, obviously we'll continue to monitor the situation on the ground in Minneapolis. That was Shaquille Brewster, NBC's reporter, who's been monitoring these type of clashes that he's been calling them. And honestly, there's not a better word for them as these protesters are out there, as you can see, as ICE agents make their way closer to them. Some developing news that happened over the last 2 hours. And in fact, Venezuela's Maria Machado, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, presented the president with her Peace Prize during a meeting earlier today. And as you know, the association sent out I think some type of statement earlier this week that says that even though if she does do this, they don't necessarily obviously tabulate this, even though she did give the president her Peace Prize. But this is what she had to say after that meeting.
Bolivar since then kept that medal for the rest of his life. Actually, when you see his portraits, you can see the medal there. And it was given by General Lafayette as a sign of the brotherhood between the United States, people of the United States and the people of Venezuela in their fight for freedom against tyranny. And 200 years in history, the people of Bolivar are giving back to the heir of Washington a medal, in this case a medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, as a recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
All right. So obviously, even though the White House has dismissed her as an option, taking over for President Nicolas Maduro, who was captured in a U.S. military raid, or former president of Venezuela, it seems like her chances to be elevated to that position could get better with this giving of the Peace Prize to Trump to try and smooth things over between her and the president. Obviously, there will be more coming from this. The U.S. obviously seizing and forced Maduro and his wife out of Venezuela through Caracas now more than 3 weeks ago. So this is developing news here on WCNC Plus. We're going to continue to watch the developments, as I said, in Minneapolis and across the world. We'll take a 2-minute break and come right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to go back to the president welcoming the Florida Panthers to the White House.
In the playoffs, including the clutch double overtime winner in Game 2 of the finals. And no skater had more ice time in the playoffs than Seth Jones, who was the workhorse on both sides of the puck. As we know, Seth will be representing America in the Milan Winter Olympics next month, alongside fellow Florida Panther Matthew Tkachuk, who's fantastic. I remember his father was very good. I don't know. I said, did you top his father? He said, well, my father had 500 and some odd goals. How many did you say? How many? Like that. A lot of goals. Close. I said, well, he says he ain't, but you will be. And your father would want you to be, because I know your father. He would want you to be. It's fantastic. You don't see that too often. We have a father who's great and a son who's great. You don't see it very often, but this is a case where you do. And say hello to your father for me, Matthew, okay? But he throws a big punch. I can see that. Is he a pretty tough cookie? Is he tough? They say he throws the big punch. How many people can take him in a fight? There are only a couple of heads. He says most of them. I don't know about that. Also joining them on Team USA staff will be Bill Zito and Panthers equipment manager Teddy Richards. That's great. That's great. Congratulations. Congratulations. And we're counting on you to bring home the gold. You know, I got the Olympics, and we got it brought to a very special place. We have the big Olympics coming up very soon, and we have the World Cup coming, and we have the 250th year coming. So, you know, when I got rigged, when you had a rigged election, I was really angry about it. Then I realized if I win the next time, I pick up the Olympics, the World Cup, and the 250. And I said, you know what, Pam? I said, this is a good thing. It's better than it would have been, actually. So it's pretty good. Amazing the way things can work out, right? But I just wanted to say a very special congratulations, and I'm going to bring them down to the Oval Office we did last time. And sometimes if I really like a team, I bring them to the Oval Office, and we do some fun. We give them a little special, we give them a coin, a very special coin, the best coin there is. And we have a little fun, but we're going to march on down. We're going to pass the Presidential Wall of Fame. So I had a choice, Walk of Fame or Wall of Fame. And you know what I decided, right? I said walk, because I think of the walk of shame. And I said this was an interesting situation. So I said that was the one reason I didn't want to do that, because I said people are going to think about that, but I said I'll do it anyway. But we have the Presidential Walk of Fame, and you'll get to see it. It's been quite an attraction for the White House. But I just want to congratulate everybody. These are special people, very, very hard to win, especially at the top level of sports, and this is the top level, and it's an honor to have these guys with us. You know, it's I want my people to win. We have such incredible people, so many here, congressmen, senators, and cabinet members, and they've really produced. They're producing like we're having a year, the likes of which really so far there's no comparison to any other first year for an administration. We have the tremendous crime numbers just came out. Did you see? The lowest crime ever recorded. Now, you wouldn't see that when you see what's going on, but when you see what's going on in Minnesota, we're taking out the worst, some of the worst criminals in the world are being taken out of our country. Murderers, drug dealers, some of the worst in the world. We have the lowest crime with best crime numbers we've ever had, and we have something else that's very special. We have 18 trillion. This is Vinny. Vinny would understand this better than maybe anybody in the room. $18 trillion worth of investment in the United States, which is bigger than any number. Bigger than any number, and we have. Again, we have today for the 49th time in 11 months, here a little more than 11 months. For the 48th day, we have the highest stock market in history, so that's pretty good. That makes you feel good because I know you have a couple of stocks. It makes everybody feel good because 401ks are the highest point they've ever been. Everybody's happy, and we're doing a job, and they're doing a job. So I'd like to ask Vinny to say a few words, and then Matthew to say a few words, and then we'll figure it out. I heard they have a little surprise. Ooh, that looks nice. I hope it's the stick and not just the shirt. That stick looks beautiful. That looks beautiful. Maybe I get both. Who the hell knows? I'm president. I'll just take them. But then we do have that little surprise, and I want to thank you all very much for being here. Very special. Vinny, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, it really humbles me to be in your presence, and the kindness you've showed me, my organization, from a very long time ago, it's not lost on us. But the privilege to be at the White House with you while you're present is extra special. I'm going to make it pretty clear that we are honored to be here, and we're honored to be here with you as the President. You talked about the Olympians. I think we're right up there having the most Olympic players as much as any other team in the NHL. There are 10 Olympians behind me from, I think, 4 or 5 countries. It's a great testimony to a wonderful sport that really is a global sport. I speak on behalf of every Florida Panther fan all over the world. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. Thank you, Mr. President. Matthew would like to say a few words, and the players are super excited about the gifts that they've selected for you. I think I'm more excited, actually. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Well, I mean, the 2 cups was pretty good, but that walk with you might have trumped it all there. That was pretty amazing. No, I just want to say on behalf of the whole organization and mainly the players, we're so honored to be here, being an American. I know I said it last year, but I mean, nothing beats this. I'm so proud to be an American and so proud to be here with you and everybody else. So, but like I said last year, winning, it takes a toll. You pay a price for it. And each one of these members behind me, like, it really does take a village to make it happen, and each person played a very, very important part in it. And coming down to Florida, thanks to Vinny Viola and Bill Zito, has really changed my life, and I cannot believe that 3 years later we have 2 Stanley Cups, and like Vinny said, we are not stopping now, and we hope to be here next year. So that's the plan, and you know, representing you and the millions back here next month in the Olympics will be one of the highlights of my life as well, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We do have a few gifts to give you, so I'd like to call down Captain Sasha Barkov and then Seth Jones, and I think you're going to like the one that Seth gets you the most.
Did you hear him? Good for slashing. Come on, Vinny.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Obviously, we just got done with the president there in the Oval Office, at the White House, that is, with the Florida Panthers. We're going to get a 2-minute break here, and then after this, we're going to go to our interview with KARE 11 reporter Danny Spiewak, who's been on the ground in Minneapolis for the last couple of weeks after the shooting death of Renee Nicole Good. We'll see you in 2. Yeah, just about 25 minutes ago, we actually took a live shot of NBC's Shaquille Brewster on the ground with clashes between protesters and ICE. And in fact, we spoke to KARE 11's Danny Spiewak a couple of hours earlier about what is going on. Let's go to this right now as we had him on the show not too long ago. We believe these individuals are from Champlin Park High School, which is in and around the area of Minneapolis, above Brooklyn Park, as I had said, one of these northwestern suburbs. Not too far, though. They have made their way closer now to downtown on North Central Avenue. And in fact, we have one of KARE's reporters, Danny Spiewak, reporting for us, who has been on the ground over the last couple of weeks. Danny, thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys have had barely any time to sleep, eat, or anything else other than write stories the last couple of weeks because of all that's happened. So I want to first thank you for your journalism. This is a huge thing, obviously, what we do to let folks know what's going on the ground. So I want to start there. Can you give us, and I know it's tough for us to fathom since we're not on the ground, give us just an idea of what the environment is from an outsider's perspective. It seems like it is so volatile right now.
Well, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate being able to tell people outside of Minnesota exactly what is going on here, the big issues that are driving the situation, and just kind of giving you the real-time impact. So the best way I can describe it is there's just kind of this lingering sense of tension across Minnesota, across the Twin Cities. But it's not as though if you were to walk outside and you looked on the street that you would see mass federal agents lining the busy streets, lining the major freeways and interstates. But there is such a significant federal presence here with more federal agents than there are local police officers in our two largest cities, that there are these very targeted and sporadic situations across the Twin Cities metro area, even across the state into what we call greater Minnesota, our smaller cities and smaller towns, where these immigration enforcement actions are taking place and they're unfolding in public. You just don't know where they're going to be. They're unfolding in public, oftentimes met by protests once people find out that ICE is in the area. And as news organizations, we are trying to keep up with where everything is happening, but you can't predict from 1 minute to the next where anything's going to be happening. And so there's a feeling of tension, especially in the last week or so after the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis. And then we had a second shooting involving a federal agent last night, somebody shot in the leg during a confrontation. And so it's very tense. There are, restaurants that have either closed early or closed altogether. There's an impact to daily life, but it isn't as though everything has come to a standstill. It's just more the uncertainty of not knowing when things might unfold.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks from Charlotte remember, right, with some of the ICE incidents that happened here. It was months ago now. Things have shifted to Minneapolis. It started with the Somali population there in the community. I remember that very vividly over the last 3 weeks, even a month now, Danny. And I guess I got to ask, we've heard the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, talk about trying to quell a potential type of altercation, whether it be, violence or otherwise, between state and local police and these federal officers, these Border Patrol, ICE agents. And in fact, it seems like, based on the response that we have seen, law enforcement is backing what is coming from Border Patrol based on the agent that was involved in the Renee Good killing with the internal injuries. What can you tell us in terms of how local police are dealing with Border Patrol at this moment? Are things tense there? Because we saw in Charlotte here that CMPD, they were really able to keep their distance in some respects, I would say, and really allow ICE to do their thing while trying to obviously patrol our neighborhoods and obviously keep safe neighborhoods as well. So can I ask you that? What does that look like?
Yeah, and it's very interesting because I'm not sure or familiar with just how everything unfolded with CMPD and their interaction with federal law enforcement. But in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities that are obviously have their separate police departments, they both have ordinances in place known as a separation ordinance, where they cannot assist federal law enforcement with any immigration activity. However, they can show up to a scene if it's getting out of hand or if there's a protest, which is what we see all the time, where local law enforcement is put in the position of trying to do what I would call crowd control, but not having the ability, of course, to enforce any federal immigration law or work alongside the federal agents. So there's some tension between the local police and the federal agents because the Minneapolis police chief here, Brian O'Hara, in Minneapolis has said that they're not getting really any information from the federal agents. They have no idea where these operations are going to be taking place, and they get put into these situations where they are kind of caught in the middle of trying to provide public safety services to people and try to keep scenes calm, but yet they really have almost what seems like a very fractured relationship with the federal agents. And so that's definitely a complication and a consideration here. It's a very unique situation.
I also got to ask, Danny, the president has threatened over the last 24 hours, if not in the last couple of hours, as I'm watching some of our big board news here from across the United States, that he's threatening to use the Insurrection Act to end these protests in Minneapolis. I'm sure you've seen, this is not new. We've seen a lot of discussion about this, both at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., with some of the disbursement of National Guard troops there. What is this sense that this could actually happen? Because this could really disrupt life, as you're already saying that these operations are already having. So what does that look like, and are you getting any other developments in that area?
It's a very serious threat, and the Democratic officials almost universally criticizing the Trump administration's approach here, and many of them coming out saying that the Insurrection Act, invoking it, would be harmful. What I can tell you is I'm in the state capitol right now in our Capitol Bureau in St. Paul, and we know that Governor Walz, he did a statewide address last night before the second shooting. So he did an address across the state, televised, that we brought on our air, basically criticizing the ICE enforcement and criticizing the Trump administration. Then you had the shooting, and then now you have the threat to invoke the Insurrection Act. And Governor Walz has not spoken publicly yet today. He's really kind of laid low. He sent out a social media post just saying he wants to turn the temperature down. And we're told by the governor's office that he's trying to directly reach the president, working with other partners and leaders in the cities to try to reach the president and convince him not to do this. So it sounds like there's some backroom type negotiations maybe potentially being attempted here.
Man, this stuff is fascinating. I do have to ask, because I do believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you were in Minneapolis during George Floyd. Can you, and I know that this is hard because you don't want to compare. Each situation is much different, and we want to give honor to each individual, obviously the victims that died, but also just in general in terms of the environment and the atmosphere. What does that look like? Is it the same in that sense in terms of your feeling?
It's a really good question, especially because the incident with Renee Good happened like a mile or so from the site of George Floyd's murder. So it's the same neighborhood, basically, of Minneapolis. So I'll start with just there are some similarities because in terms of I would just say we're very sensitive to the possibility or thought that there could be unrest in the Twin Cities. So those preparations are people take that very seriously because of what we saw in 2020. But this is so there's that same tension, that same feeling of dread of what's going to happen next. So that's similar from that regard, but it's different in the respect that it's a totally different dynamic because in 2020, you had the murder of a citizen of Minnesota by a local police officer. And so the tension was between the community and the Minneapolis Police Department. And so the 3rd precinct that burned was a visible symbol of the city's policing, and it led to so many reform efforts. But this one is a clash between people in the community supported by their local and state officials versus the federal government. And you have a federal entity that is in the community that's causing backlash from those that live here. So it's just a totally different dynamic, and it's just very similar in some ways, but also very different in other ways, I guess I would say.
Well, in some of the scenes that I've seen, I'm sure you've obviously been witnessing the same thing. They're hard to put into words to describe. In fact, I think last night I saw a man near Columbia Heights in this neighborhood potentially kind of saying, kind of pleading with these ICE agents. It was under the cover of night, and he was saying literally in each of these houses, there are children that are not only watching what is happening outside, but wondering, right, if they're safe. And he was just kind of saying he couldn't believe this this was happening in America. And it seems like this sentiment is being felt not only across Minneapolis, but across the United States, right? But just this plea from a father to these individuals asking, you guys have families at home. You have left your families to do this. Do you think this is right? Have you heard those same sentiments kind of told to you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think from people in the community, there is such a lack of trust between the federal government and many in the community. Now, this is different depending on where you are in Minnesota, because obviously, Minnesota is a blue state, and the Twin Cities are, heavily Democratic, typically politically. That's not universal, but the cities themselves, I think there's a lot of anger within the community that they feel that the Trump administration has kind of come into the community and is causing havoc. But Minnesota is a closely divided state. It's the closest divided legislature in the country. The House of Representatives is tied with Republicans and Democrats. So there is a segment of the population in Minnesota, I think, that believes that the ICE presence is warranted, that they supported the president's deportation promises during the 2024 campaign. And so it depends on where you are in the state in terms of how people are feeling. But certainly in the heart of Minneapolis and St. Paul, there is a sense that they believe the federal government has come in against their will and is imposing their will for the purpose of immigration enforcement.
Let's get human here for a second. Danny, we're humans. We've been in this business for a couple of years. Some of the things that we've seen, we've never seen before. And I know, like I said, you're witnessing them firsthand. So I can't imagine that. But I do want to ask, in terms of how people are experiencing this, the reporters that are in the room, yourself, and really what's been told to you guys of what to do, how to take care of yourselves, not just you, but other citizens that are in these neighborhoods that are maybe tear gas, that are seeing these incidents go on. What are the best things, and what things do you kind of cling to when you're seeing some of this unrest? Because I think people forget, right? We're human too. We report on these things. There are some harsh things said in the media about us. We got to be honest about that. But these are our jobs, and we take them seriously. And obviously, we're trying to do the service that we can for the community and for our communities that listen in on this. Because as we've seen, and I've seen firsthand as well, there's a lot of fear that plays into this. Not to throw in anything personal, but I've seen family members in Chicago that have been detained, by ICE before. So I think a lot of us have personal stories that go along with this. So from that, sorry not to speak too much, your experience, how are you guys feeling, and what can folks really do who are on the ground? What have you guys been told to try and help yourselves move this along?
I love that question because it's something that I think a lot of people wrestle with, especially in whether it's the media or just anybody else that's in the community and is living through this, no matter what you feel about the situation. But I think the thing I have to remind myself is, and the one best advice I guess I would have for people is that, when you talk to real people on the street, most people just want the chaos to end. Again, I understand there's different political views on what's occurring and who's at fault, but I think most people at the end of the day they would like, peace back on the streets. They would like us to be able to move forward. I think there's kind of almost like an extreme element that is amplified on social media, that it starts to feel like, oh my goodness, like everybody is so divided, which, to an extent, I think people are very divided in America. But I think that it's amplified in the social media culture, that I think if you just talk to real people, Democrat, Republican, Independent, I do think that there is just a sense of, okay, let's, wish there was a way to get out of this, wish there was a way to work together.
I think you bring up a great point, right? In social media, there seems to be like this echo chamber of, the same thoughts that you are having that just continue to be reverberated, right? And sometimes it's good to hear other perspectives, although it doesn't feel good, maybe to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think that's what reporters do every single day. So, Danny, thank you for sharing your time with us. And I'll ask one final thing to you, which is anything else that I didn't ask you that you think is important, man, that you want to tell us about the situation that's ongoing, or kind of, what you've experienced?
Yeah, I guess I would just say for anybody watching outside of Minnesota, outside of the Twin Cities, I do not want to minimize the seriousness of the situation that we're in. And perhaps you saw this in Charlotte as well. But I do think when people look at the images, it's not as though the entire Twin Cities, the entire state of Minnesota is currently in, like that every street is currently the images you're seeing, if that makes any sense.
Right.
It like I mentioned to start the interview, that if you were to walk outside and just look around, nothing at first glance might seem off, but there's a lot of tension, there's a lot going on. It's a major national news story that we're all kind of thrown in the middle of, but the people here are persisting and trying to move forward with daily life.
Well, I know that our company has put out the call for journalists to come and support you guys in your efforts, and I know a lot of folks will do so and do that. So stay strong. Thank you again for all the great reporting that's coming from your station, and I'm sure we'll check back again. So please don't mind us bothering you again if you can spare the time.
Sounds good. Anytime. Happy to join you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Dennis Spearwater from CARE.
All right,
11.
folks,
We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be back right after this. All right, thanks for coming back here inside the Impact Studio, guys. CMPD gave us a rundown of all of violent crime and their end-of-year statistics during a press conference today. Let's go to this right now.
My name is Crystal Fletcher. I am a lieutenant in the Public Affairs Division, and I appreciate you all being here today. We appreciate your interest in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and the collective efforts to make this city a safe and premier city. Today, we are releasing our 2025 annual report, which provides a comprehensive overview of crime statistics, enforcement efforts, major CMPD operations, key initiatives, and other highlights from January through December. This report is more than numbers. It reflects the progress, challenges, and partnerships that shape public safety in Charlotte. Transparency and collaboration are at the heart of our mission, and today's briefing is part of that commitment. To begin, we will hear from our leader guiding this vision. Chief Estella Patterson will share an overview of crime trends and the department's progress in 2025. Since taking the helm, Chief Patterson has demonstrated strong leadership and a clear vision for public safety, and I am proud to welcome her to the podium now. Chief.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Truly, it is my honor to serve as Chief of Police for this great city. I'm so thankful for our council members, Councilmember Graham that is here with us today, and your full support of CMPD and law enforcement. I am thankful to be working with an incredible team alongside me, from our executive team to our public information office to every member of this organization. As Chief, my focus is clear, and that is that we will do all that we can as a police department to reduce violent crime and disorder, and also address the perception of crime to build a safer and stronger city. We made excellent strides in 2025. Now, I can't take credit for it. I only had a small part to play in it, but all the kudos goes to our team members here around me. I am pleased to announce that from January to December, Charlotte experienced an overall 9% reduction in violent crime. 9% reduction in Part 1 crimes compared to 2024. This decrease includes a 21% drop in violent crime. And as you are aware, violent crime includes homicides, rapes, robberies, aggravated assaults, which encompasses shootings. To better understand what drove these reductions, there were two major contributors: robberies and aggravated assaults. Robberies dropped 24% and aggravated assaults fell 20% compared to 2024, which are clear signs of steady improvement citywide. Also within the reduction of violent crime, homicides decreased by 13%. In 2025, the city experienced 96 homicides compared to 110 in 2024. 79% of those tragedies were cleared by arrests. While this is a notable decrease, 96 homicides are still too many. Any life lost is a tragedy to our community, and at CMPD, we are fully committed, more than ever, to working with our community, working with our law enforcement partners and others to prevent violent behavior and to save lives. While homicides understandably draw the public's attention, they tell only part of the story in Charlotte. In 2025, we experienced a 6% reduction in property crime. And property crime includes burglaries, auto thefts, and larcenies. Within that category, overall, burglaries decreased by 7%, and vehicle thefts dropped by 20%. Additionally, larcenies from auto fell by 1%. So progress like this does not happen by chance. It is the result, I believe, of the dedication and the intentionality of our officers being vigilant and being attentive, along with the support of our professional staff, our call takers, and our dispatchers who treat all calls with a sense of urgency. Day in and day out, our officers diffuse conflicts, they address crime as they unfold, they prevent escalations of violence, and they provide our investigators with the critical information they need to identify and charge offenders. This dedication is reflected in the numbers. Our total police interactions were up in 2025. They were up 5%, reaching nearly 575,000 interactions. Our officer-initiated proactive efforts were also up. They were up 21%. Our firearm seizures were up 23%, and our arrests were up 14%. Of the 17,417 arrests that we made in 2025, 1,834 of them were related to violent incidents, and almost 2,400 of them were juvenile arrests, which tells us that we have to do more to keep our youth from engaging in criminal behavior. The proactive work of our officers reflects our community to precision policing, which is focused on those who victimize and the places that they commit their crimes. These improvements reflect persistence, often unseen work that is driving real change in our community. These results are not just numbers, they are outcomes of targeted strategies. Again, the work represents intentionality and real strategies in action, such as our Operation Safe Season, which was a multi-agency effort that we kicked off in December to keep our uptown safe during the holiday season. We increased our visibility and our enforcement during peak evening and weekend hours to deter crime and reassure residents, families, and businesses that safety is our priority. I highlight this effort because it was a tremendous example of collaboration with other law enforcement partners from local to state to federal. And I tell you, I will always take this approach to impact crime. The results of Operation Safe Season really speaks for themselves. We conducted 437 traffic stops, we issued 438 citations, we made 54 arrests, and we seized 34 illegally possessed firearms. These outcomes show how targeted enforcement and strong partnerships prevent crime, remove dangerous weapons from our streets, and address issues before they escalate. As we continue building on this momentum from 2025, we already have additional operations in development, and it's important that we look to what's driving these results that we are having, the successes that we are seeing. So I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Jackie Briley if she will come forward to share some of CMPD's strategic initiatives and the efforts that our officers have contributed to the significant decreases that we have experienced. So Deputy Chief Briley. Thank you, Chief.
Good afternoon. My name is Deputy Chief Jackie Briley. I'm the Deputy Chief over Patrol Services. As Chief Patterson shared, we are continuing to think creatively about how we use our personnel and our resources to address crime in Charlotte. We're listening to our residents, we're working closely with our community partners, and we're adapting our approach to meet Charlotte's evolving needs. CMPD remains fully committed to safeguarding this community using strategic initiatives, resource allocation, and technology to promote a safer city, and the results are clear. One of our first priorities was restructuring our crime reduction unit, or what we refer to as our CRUs, for greater impact. Instead of operating as a separate division-based team, in July of 2025, we consolidated our resources to service area CRUs. This allowed us to be capable of responding to more events effectively across the city. These units now deploy based off of real-time crime trends. In 2025, our CRUs conducted over 2,000 traffic stops, made 781 arrests, seized 480 firearms, and recovered approximately 148 pounds of illegal narcotics. This definitely impacted our city's decline in overall crime. Many CRU cases involved repeat offenders tied to high victimization crimes like shooting into occupied dwellings or SOIDs. In one case in October, our Northeast CRU officers observed a suspected narcotics transaction near Reagan Drive. They detained Marquise Brown, age 27, an SOID suspect, and seized 41 grams of cocaine. Brown, with a 10-year criminal history that includes multiple drug-related charges, common law robbery, was arrested that day for felony drug charges and served with outstanding warrants. The following day, those units tracked a fleeing suspect linked to a vehicle in this same case. The driver, Michael Crosby, age 26, was taken into custody in Cabarrus County. He was found in possession of approximately 40 grams of suspected fentanyl and a stolen firearm. Crosby faces multiple charges, including discharging a weapon into occupied property, felony flee to elude, and trafficking opiates. At only age 26, he also had a decade-long violent criminal history. This case highlights the teamwork between our CRUs, our detectives, and our specialized units to remove firearms, drugs, and violent offenders from our streets, preventing future crimes and saving lives. As our CRUs continue to focus and make strides in reducing violent crime, we are also focused on the youth being drawn to these patterns throughout our Juvenile Accountability and Diversion Empowerment Team, or as you've heard before, the J Team. In 2024, the J Team launched across all 13 divisions. The purpose was to intervene early, build relationships, and connect our at-risk youth and their families to resources to prevent recidivism. In August, our J Team investigated an armed robbery that involved several juveniles, including a 14-year-old. The officers arrested all 4 suspects, 3 juveniles and 1 adult. They seized 2 firearms, and later, one of those firearms was linked to a homicide. They continued to follow up with one of the 14-year-olds involved in that case. Since then, that 14-year-old, through the work of Jade, has not reoffended since August. Jade's impact is clear. In 2025, juvenile crime incidents dropped 11%. Violent juvenile crimes declined 9%, and juvenile property crime fell 19%. However, there was some trends that were concerning to us. Juvenile suspects in shooting to occupied dwelling cases rose 26%, and juvenile larceny from auto cases rose 7%. These cases underscore why Jade's work is so critical. In October, Jade connected a known juvenile to a shooting into occupied dwelling case. A traffic stop led to the arrest of 2 juveniles and an adult who also had a warrant. Officers seized 2 firearms, narcotics, and later recovered 5 more firearms in a search warrant. Both of these juveniles were charged with the shooting into occupied case. These cases show repeat offenders commit a disproportionate share of our violent and property crimes, often cycling through our system. Breaking this cycle will require collaboration among our law enforcement, our justice system, our local leaders, and our community, public safety is a shared responsibility, and we have continued to be committed to doing our part to keep Charlotte safe. Now I'd like to invite Deputy Chief Brett Balamonkey to talk more about strategic deployment of some of our technology resources.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brett Balamucky. I currently serve as the Deputy Chief over Special Services Group. The Special Services Group encompasses many diverse specialty units: intelligence, aviation, arson bomb, canine, SWAT, dignitary protection, motors, our crime lab, data analysis, and more. A critical function of all these units is how we utilize technology and training to move effectively, or to more effectively serve our community. At our safety briefing last year, we shared a recently launched program that put this mission into practice, and that's our Civilian Crash Investigating Unit, our CCI unit. 1 year later, I'm proud to share those results of a year of the program being implemented. It was created to reduce the burden on our sworn officers by assigning civilian-trained investigators to minor crash investigations. So their responsibility includes responding to minor crashes without injuries and assisting with disabled vehicles and traffic control. The CCIs last year reduced wait times for drivers involved in those crashes and improved patrol their availability for more urgent calls and proactive policing, thus enhancing the customer service by providing dedicated personnel for our crash investigations. The unit is an excellent example of how CMPD uses strategic resource deployment, and over the last year they've made a huge impact on our patrol operations. In 2025, I'm proud to say that our CCI investigators answered 8,538 calls for service, and they completed 6,639 reports. So when you hear those numbers, they sound large, but when you look at those percentages, so that first number of calls answered, that's 38% of all the calls that CMPD got on crashes, disabled vehicles, or traffic control. And the amount of reports they did was over a quarter of all the reports done in CMPD last year. So great enhancement of sharing that load with our professional staff to free officers up to do proactive policing and be engaged with the community. By shifting these calls to the civilian investigators, we redirected thousands of hours for emergency response and crime prevention and community engagement. 1 year in, the CCI unit has proven to be successful successful innovation, saving time, improving efficiency, and enhancing customer service. Another program launched in the fourth quarter of 2024 is our Connect Charlotte. It's an online portal for the residents and business owners to leverage their security cameras to make our entire community safer. With Connect Charlotte, residents and businesses can register or integrate their security cameras. And what that does is that builds an interactive map of security cameras for our entire response area across the city. So this map increases the efficiency of direct, discrete, and secure evidence collection from investigations. So importantly, camera registration to CMPD does not give us access to your cameras. So the difference is, as a resident, you can register your camera so that CMPD and through Connect Charlotte can know through a map. So if there's a crime in your area, we have the ability for investigators to reach out, and it's your discretion if you want to share what was on there, if there was something on there, but it enhances the network of safety across the city, where currently we have 1,730 cameras registered and 1,110 cameras are integrated. So the integrated cameras are the ones that businesses, right, business owners can use that allow CMPD's Real-Time Crime Center and our detectives and professional staff in that room to immediately switch over and be able to see live what's going on. So if there's a call for service, if there's an issue, if there's a concern from a 911 call, you immediately have an officer with eyes on your issue before the officer even may get dispatched or right as they're being dispatched. So the integrated cameras is such a strength, an improvement on enhancing our proficiency with that. They've helped us locate and arrest criminals, demonstrating a real-world impact. In one case from our North Tryon Division, officers observed several hand-to-hand drug transactions in an area known for having some issues. After watching that for a while, they made 3 separate traffic stops. During these traffic stops, officers were able to make 3 arrests. Not only arrests, but they recovered drugs, narcotics, and they recovered cash from the sale. They then go back to the location that the subjects that were selling the drugs and made 3 more arrests for a total of 6 arrests, all done through an integrated camera from a business owner that was tired of having illegal activity on their property. And so as we look at that impact, they seized marijuana, Xanax, and Oxycontin pills and U.S. currency. This case is an example not just about those arrests and seizures, but supportive feedback the officers received from the community is really the true impact that this has on disrupting negative behavior in the neighborhoods. One community member said that she observed the incident occur, and that her appreciation for disrupting the transactions was heartfelt, right? You had a business owner that said since this arrest that he's seen a huge reduction in the loitering in the criminal activity around his business so that he can get back to making money and having a safe environment. So just a couple really good examples of how registering and integrating your cameras with our Connect Charlotte program goes beyond solving crimes. It has an impact on the quality of life and the overall safety in the community. You know, for more information on the camera systems, for you to register as a resident at home, that we as CMPD cannot see your cameras. We are not able to log in and view your cameras, see your cameras. All we know is that you have a camera, so that if there is an incident or an emergency in your neighborhood, we know who to contact to ask for help. You know, and then to integrate your cameras is that integration that you can use through connectcharlotte.org, and right here is one of the cores. So something as small as this, right, is how you, by just adding this core itself, can increase the safety of your employees and the community overall, because this small little box can give us direct police access to the cameras of your choosing. So just because you choose as a business to say, hey, I want to integrate my cameras, doesn't mean we get all your cameras. You choose as the business owner. You can say, I don't want my inside covered. I do want the inside cameras. I only want the parking lot cameras. I only want the camera that goes to the back lot. It's really just an enhancement tool that you control. Together, we can continue to build a safer Charlotte by combining community vigilance with proactive policing. And to share more about how the department is moving forward in 2026, I'd like to welcome Chief Patterson back to the podium.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Technology is going to play a huge part as we move forward as an organization. So looking ahead in 2026, I want to reaffirm my top priorities that will guide us in the work that we do. And they are reducing violent crime and disorder, enhancing community engagement and collaboration, and most importantly, improving employee wellness and morale. Supporting our officers is critical to our mission. When our officers are healthy and they're motivated, then they can better serve our community. I expect, and you should too, that the work that we do it with excellence, that we do it with professionalism, and with the highest level of integrity. We made measurable progress in 2025 in reducing violent crime, but we know that there's more work to be done. In 2026, we will expand our data-driven policing strategies, as the DC talked about. We'll continue to strengthen our partnerships with our law enforcement partners, and we will invest in more technology that helps us to respond faster and smarter. Our commitment is clear. Every neighborhood deserves to be safe. Public safety is not achieved by the police alone. It's built together with the community. I see 2026 as a year of momentum, driven by our top priorities and by the dedication of every member of this organization to keep our community safe. Together with our officers and our professional staff, our partners, and our community, we strive to make 2026 a year of safer streets and stronger relationships. Undoubtedly, there will be challenges, but I trust this community and I trust this police department to achieve successes together. And at this time, I'll invite Lieutenant Fletcher back to the podium. I'm going to ask the other DCs moving a little bit closer.
Thank you, Chief Patterson. At this time, we'll open it up for questions for information you would like to have or that we presented today. So once I call on you, if you would give us your name, who you're with, and what your question is. Warwick.
Michael Warwick, WBTV. Chief, I guess I'd just ask, we appreciate y'all doing this, by the way, first of all. Is there a trend or a data point that you're most encouraged? And maybe on the flip side of that, is there a trend you saw as you reviewed the data where you're most concerned?
Yeah. So when I just review the data, I mean, it's amazing to see reductions in violent crime and property crime. That's extremely rare. I have not seen that, but that is promising to us. But the violent crime, because that is really the focus, and I think that is what concerns people most in the community, that you will be a victim of a robbery or ag assault or even a homicide, unfortunately. And we don't want that. So as I see these homicide numbers going down, our ag assault numbers going down, we're going to make every effort to keep having them go down, to be in those places particularly that we know are problematic, that tend to see increases in crime. And I also know in our world today, we can't always predict that, right? Because it can happen anywhere. But we want to make sure that we have eyes and ears in all the places that we can to mitigate it as much as possible and to really rely on our community to help us, to be those eyes and ears for us.
Chief Patterson, Kenneth Lee, WFAE. I'm not sure if you guys have seen a trend in pedestrian deaths last year, but I also want to know if there's any information on the hit and run that happened in the Eastway Division yesterday.
Okay, so I'm going to look to one of either DC Balmonkey or Briley if you want to address this.
So first question, reference to trends on
pedestrian deaths.
On pedestrian deaths. So that's some information we'll have to get through our traffic unit. I know we are still very active with our Vision Zero program, where our motors units and our other traffic units pair with our division traffic officers, and they focus on those high incident and accident locations. And as far as the incident from yesterday, we'd have to get with public information to get you an update on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chief Patterson.
Yes.
Manuel Marquez, Telemundo Charlotte. I would like to know how many of this 96 homicides involve Hispanic or Latino people?
Oh, wow. I don't know that we have that number broken down. Do we have that we can provide?
We do not, but we can provide that for you.
We will get that number to you. And I just want to say to you, thank you for being here. And I want you to know that I'm committed to making sure that we're in all our neighborhoods within Charlotte. We want to make sure that we have a strong relationship with our Latino communities. I know we already have one in Charlotte from when I was here before, but we want to continue to build that.
Thank you.
The MPD actually has a great database on this that has like a row for each person that was killed and has their race and ethnicity and gender. So if you check that out on their open data portal, you'll find it, if that helps.
Thank you for that.
My name is Caitlin McGlade. I'm a reporter at the Charlotte Observer. Two questions. One, I was really interested when you said that one of the things that you're going to deal with is like addressing the perception of crime.
Yes.
We talk a lot about in our newsroom. Obviously, crime is going down, but there is this perception that crime is going up. We've had some politicians say that like crime is out of control. I've fact-checked them on those numbers. How do you address this perception that crime is out of control when it's really not? So that's my first question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you guys have strategies for that moving into 2026? And then my second question is, in your incident data, like when you classify a homicide as justifiable, I'm curious like how it ends up in there as justifiable, and therefore not ending up in the other homicide file where they are not justifiable.
Sure. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for fact-checking as well, because there are lots of comments concerning crime. As far as the perception of crime, the strategies that I feel that we need to employ and that we're talking about is people have to feel safe. They have to feel safe wherever they are. Visibility of our officers, of our personnel, having those eyes and ears, the cameras that's capturing information and making those proactive arrests, I think goes a long ways, and then sharing that information with the public. On all our platforms, we're always pushing out the good stories, the things that we're doing, but I know that when we talk to individuals, They want to know, like, what is happening in their community. The more information that we can push out, I think that does affect the perception of crime. But really, basically, for me, it is making sure that we have a visible presence, particularly in those areas where we tend to see crime occur. I think people feel safer when they walk around the neighborhood or their community and they see the presence of police officers. So I think that's the first step in us addressing the perception of crime, and then also using our technology so that we can capture information and then sharing that information with the public so they know that our homicides are down, that they know that our aggravated assaults are down. Now, with respect to how we classify our homicides, I'm going to ask DC Butler if he can come and talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Madam. Deputy Chief Ryan Butler, I'm the Deputy Chief for Investigative Services Group. So, unfortunately, investigations don't line up neatly with fiscal year or the end of calendar year, and so our numbers, I won't say evolve, but our numbers are subject to the investigative process. What happens in an investigation is once we come to the end of it, our homicide team sits down with the homicide prosecution team from District Attorney Merriweather's office, and we review our findings. And if an indication is that it was not a homicide, that an incident was an accident or an incident occurred in self-defense, we present our findings to the District Attorney's office, and then the determination is made that it was not a homicide per with the provisions of NIBRS. So, we're always keeping ourselves in accordance with the reporting for each of these offenses as we report the numbers up to the FBI. And so sometimes when you see changes over the course of a year where, you said it was 50 and now you're saying it's 49 or now you're saying it's 48, is because of incidents where either the determination was made that it was not a homicide and that it was a justified use of force in defense, or the determination is made that sometimes it is an accident or it is a suicide, and not what the indication was initially when we responded to the scene.
Yes, sir.
Brett Jensen with WBT Radio. So I do want to talk about reality and numbers. The reality of the situation is that homicides are up 27% over the last 6 months compared to the first 6 months, 54 to 42. The 54 is 6% more than the same time period last year. So homicides are definitely up. That's a fact. That's a reality. So what is the difference between the first 6 months where there were 42 homicides to 54 homicides over the last 6 months, which again was even more than the last 6 months of last year?
Right. So because I was not here completely in 2025, again, I'm going to ask DC Butler to come forward to talk a little bit about that. But also, too, want to put things in perspective in that we have to recognize that this city is growing. It's a large city that is constantly growing. And with any city that is growing, we have good growth, we have good economic growth, but also, too, you have a criminal element that comes with that. Identifying who those individuals are, making sure that we're taking proactive efforts to reduce crime or to mitigate their action is really important to us. I think my expectation is that we continue to reduce crime, but we also have to look at all the factors that we are working with in a city, especially one that is growing so rapidly. But to your point, I don't know that maybe DC Butler can talk a little bit about maybe some trends we saw from the beginning in 2025 versus the end of 2025, and to your point, over the 6-month period.
Thank you, ma'am. So, and they're large numbers, and we're split in 6 months. So, without getting a little more micro, it's difficult to give you accurate aggregate responses. I mean, the reality is sometimes the trends we see are related to a trend case we're working on, where sometimes there are oppositional groups that, because of the decisions they're making or the behavior they're engaging in, we have periods, acute periods of heightened violent crime, to which we, apply the appropriate resources and obviously conduct the investigations for. But as far as aggregate across the entire city, there's not a single answer to say, well, why was it lower in the first 6 months versus this higher in the last 6 months? I mean, if you look at the trend line, break it out even more, our first quarter numbers last year were very, very low. May was the first year with a significant spike where we had 14. And then the summer, where we normally have traditionally or seasonally increased numbers, we had numbers that were no more than 9 across the entire summer. And then we got into the fall where we had a spike in October with 18. So there's not a single trend where I could say, well, this is what the city experienced, without getting in there and looking at the cases on, I don't want to say myopic to be narrow, but the fact that we have trends, but the trends are not 6-month trends or necessarily 3-month trends. Sometimes it's trends over 6 weeks or trends over 4 weeks, and then we're able to make gun seizures, make arrests of significant individuals, and then that leads to some of the reductions. The reality beyond that is sometimes we have a series of poor decision making, which can be related to social media based things, people that happen to run into each other at a club or at an event, have a disagreement. That disagreement turns violent, where those incidents are isolated, but again, looking at them on an aggregate, it's like, is that acceptable? No, there's nobody in this room, there's nobody up here who's going to tell you that that's acceptable. If you say, how does the public feel? I would want the public to be dissatisfied with that and say, I'm not going to accept that. We don't want to accept that. And we welcome the public to hold us accountable for our actions and our response, because we want to provide the community with the police service that not only that they expect, but the police service that they deserve.
2 more questions. Yes, Julia Montiel from La Noticia. Well, in fact, the victims, 16 of the victims were Hispanics, and most, 40% of them were only 16 years old. So what does that tell about the community, and what can be done to reduce this number?
And I think I'm understanding that you're saying, like, with our juvenile crime?
Yes.
DC, Charlie, you want to come just address that?
So as we ended fourth quarter last year, we talked extensively about some of our juvenile repeat offenders, and as Chief Butler said, we do become very concerned about some of the decision making that some of our young people are making, whether it's based off of social media, based off of illegal narcotics, participating in buying and selling. A lot of times these incidents are a result of the inability to, address a disagreement. And so that's one of the things that why our J team is so focused on trying to prevent some of these issues by making contacts with the parents, doing home visits, going to schools, trying to track some of these individuals down. And we can never actually truly capture the numbers, but we're able to prevent so many more incidents by just those early interventions that never happen. And so again, we are always pleading with our criminal justice partners and our community partners to kind of step in and help us, so that way before we get involved in a situation, there's some type of intervention with some of our young people in the community to kind of help prevent those decision making, those poor decisions. Thank you.
Last question. Any other questions?
Maybe a question for Deputy Chief Butler. Might speak to this. I'm Patrick Wilson from the Charlotte Observer. Regarding the justified homicides, you mentioned consulting with the DA's office. This is just kind of like a question in the weeds. I'm curious, do you all consult with them on every homicide that would be ruled or found to be justified, or does CMPD ever on their own make that determination and the district attorney's office is not involved?
No, we meet with them on every one of our cases. So whether it's justified or we determine that it was a criminal act, we actually have roundtable meetings with them every single week where we're sitting down with their homicide prosecution team. So if we have a case that we're investigating as a homicide and we believe that the findings of the investigation indicate that it was justified, we will sit down with them and present our findings to them. So we don't do anything unilaterally. They are our partners because neither one of us can do anything solely on our own. And so we appreciate their partnership. So no, on every case we do sit down with them and present our findings.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just close by saying too that the partnerships are just so important. When I first arrived here, I started meeting with all of our law enforcement partners, our federal, our local, and state partners, and they have really stepped up. So I'm very thankful for our DA's office, for Spencer Merriweather, who makes himself always available to us for anything that we need, as well as our other partners across the spectrum. So moving forward, we will continue to rely on them. We welcome their help. We welcome their assistance in helping us deal with the kind of things that we're dealing with our city. I think it's very important that I keep amplifying that collaboration is what's going to help us keep our crime down in our city.
That concludes our public safety briefing for today. All the information.
Hey guys, we have some breaking news we want to get to right now. CMPD just putting this out that they need the public's assistance in a missing person investigation. We're going to put this up on the screen. This is what they sent out. Detectives, as you can see, with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Department Missing Persons Unit, requesting the public's assistance. They're locating a 9-year-old Robert Battle. He was last seen today, approximately around 11 a.m. As his residence located on the 6,000 block of Old Coach Road in Charlotte. He was last seen leaving his residence on foot. He's familiar with the public transportation system and might be trying to get to a non-specific store. So please be aware of him. He was last seen wearing a blue-gray jacket, dark khaki pants, a gray winter hat, black gloves, and a blue cane. He does have dementia, so that's why they are worried about him. They're asking individuals to call 911 immediately. Hopefully we'll have a picture to show you in the next hour or so, but if not, obviously, we'll update things on WCNC Charlotte News at 11. We're going to go to a quick 2-minute break. We'll come back after this. Well, we know how many good things the Not Whole Foundation does around the area. And if you're not familiar, well, Nick Sturdivant's going to go into some of the things that they do. And then, of course, with Martin Luther King Jr. Day ahead of us on Monday, celebrating his life and legacy, there are lots of things for people to do to celebrate that. So let's listen into this.
I had to stand up for this one, Carlene, because we got two special guests. A couple of guys who've been here before. They're familiar with this studio. Well, one guy is familiar with the studio. Another guy, we got him via Zoom, but he's first time here in studio. Take a look at him. This is Morris Madden, Tommy Viola, Not Whole Foundation, Carolina's Metro Reds. Before I let them talk, let me introduce them. All right, so the Not Whole Foundation is hosting a free MLK Day baseball clinic for area youth on January 19th. Obviously, that is MLK Day. I keep saying obviously because that is a big day, a day of service. And I say a day of service because, I mean, that's what you guys do. You service the community. I feel like 24/7 is a day of service for you guys. I got to ask, why was it important to do this baseball clinic? I mean, you do stuff all the time. Why was it important to have it on MLK Day?
Well, one of the things is that the Carolinas Metro Reds, in collaboration with the Not Whole Foundation, on Saturday, the Reds are going to be an MLK Day parade.
Okay.
And then on Monday, we're going to do the clinic in collaboration with the Not Whole Foundation. So we want our kids to really recognize and understand what MLK is all about. We're going to do that clinic to kind of further along their learning of baseball, but also we're going to have some life skills to talk about. the importance of Martin Luther King.
There's a generation of kids that I'm sure they're familiar with Martin Luther King, but they probably don't know sort of a lot of what he stood for. I think they have a good basis. I don't want to give I want to give the kids credit enough to know they know something about MLK, but I feel like this is a good time to kind of really kind of get into the weeds of who he was and what he was about, right?
Well, I don't want to take down.
No, please, absolutely.
Well, it's twofold. One of the reasons is that we do want to educate them on the importance of Martin Luther King and what he stood for and what he did and how he did it and what he had to go through to do it and all that stuff. But there's also, we want to make sure that these kids continue to have an interest in playing baseball. And as you know, back when I played in major leagues, the ratio was 20% African American. It has dwindled down to like 6% now, and we are trying to figure out the reasoning behind it. We do know one reason behind it, but we haven't figured it all out yet. But in order to encourage them to continue to play, we put on these clinics and make sure that these kids are there to give them a good atmosphere, to give them a good place to play and a safe place to play.
I feel like we talked about it. Baseball, I feel like at some point that was the popular sport. I mean, you call it America's pastime. You don't call it America's pastime for no reason at all. It was the one sport that I think connected generations, connected father and son, father and daughter, however you want to put it. And now, especially in the black community, not as much. Right. Y'all do a lot of work to bridge that.
Correct.
Do you feel the weight of that? Because that's a big hurdle, especially with the popularity of basketball, football. I even see tennis gaining traction in that space. Soccer gaining traction in that
Flag
space.
Football.
Flag football.
Yeah, it is. A lot of the kids, say for instance, if I'm in a grocery store and I see a kid, I'm going to come up to him and say, hey man, listen, you want to play baseball? Do you play baseball? And they're like, nah, I play football. I play basketball. And I'm like, oh, you don't want to give it a chance? No, that's a boring sport. So my challenge to them is to come to one day of practice with us. And if you don't enjoy yourself or get anything out of that practice, we won't bother you again. And every kid that accepted that challenge stayed because of the expertise that we have. We make it fun, we make it lively, keep it interesting for them, and they want to learn more. And the more they learn about the game, the little nuances they learn about the game, they become very interested in it, because baseball is not checkers, it's chess. Yeah. And they kind of figure it all out. So that's why they become interested in it.
Tommy, boring.
Yeah, and a big part of it, and as Coach said, is the life skills that we offer. It's not just you're not just coming out for a clinic to learn the fundamentals of baseball. We do West Side Story, we do HBCU Showcase. There's always a component of that has an opportunity for you to hear from people in the game, from really important people. The life skills part of it, the educational part of it, is really important, and that's what the Knothole Foundation's doing. That's what the Metro Reds have done for years. And when you talk about baseball, it does. It brings the community together in a lot of ways, and that's what the hope of this event is. On Monday, it's a free clinic. Our clinics are free. It's for 2 hours. We bring the kids out. Registration is up on our website. You can go there now and register. Kids are out of school that day, right?
Right,
so it's the perfect day to come out. But as you mentioned, it's not just going to be the fundamentals. It's going to be hearing about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the impact that he had. So it's going to be an important day and a special day. We're really looking forward to it.
I got to say, I apologize. They don't know what I'm apologizing for, but I posted a clip last time Tommy was here. It was about the flag football tournament in the Canned Food Drive. And I posted it, and there were people, even days after the event, asking, how can I help? And I'm like, maybe I didn't do enough. Maybe I didn't post it enough
No, you were
time.
great. You were
'Cause
great.
y'all
I
do,
appreciate
y'all
it.
do a lot of great work, and I want that work, that the word of your work to get out there. And I was like, oh man, I'm passing along Tommy's number. I'm like, reach out to this guy.
Yeah. No, and thank you so much. You know, we did the food drive, and it's actually still ongoing.
Okay.
We just actually yesterday partnered with Nourish Up Charlotte, and we donated 1,700 pounds of food yesterday to them. So it's still ongoing. We're connecting with a CMS here locally to get it into the hands of kids that are at school that don't have the food that they need. So that's still going. You know, a lot of our things that we do, these initiatives that we're putting together, they're ongoing, and we're continuing to do it. And as the calendar turns from 25 to 26, we're ready to go. We're scheduling a number of events, and it's exciting.
Carolina's Metro Reds. I mean, it's just like a wealth of knowledge in that building, man. You got guys with years of experience, so it's not like and this is no shade to the guys that coach my little league baseball team, but I mean, you got some heavy hitters out there teaching the kids, including yourself, Morris.
Well, we got over 100 years of professional baseball experience within our group. And the guys that come out and they have fun with each other, and we always reminisce, talk about back when we played. I played against some of the guys that are actually coaching there, and the kids enjoy us, just the banter. We go back and forth with it. So we keep it fun, keep it light.
I think my little league coaches probably had like a year of high school baseball experience under their belt. They didn't have no professional. But again, I love what you guys do. You're kicking off a fundraising campaign, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk about that. How can folks help out?
We're actually kicking it off. It'll be it's $20.26, representing the year 2026, that they can, and it doesn't matter how many $20.26 you put in, but that will give you an opportunity to win an autographed Bob Gibson jersey.
Oh yeah, let me put that up on the screen.
That will be.
Oh, my bad, Carlene. I'm double punching. This is what. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Should have taken that out of the bag.
Yeah.
From the bag here, but
that will be given away on March the 28th on our opening day. You don't have to be present to win, but if you donate, your name will be put towards that basket or that bucket of people that are eligible to win that particular jersey. So $20.26. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. You can go to metroreds.net and donate right there.
I thought that jersey was for me. I thought it was a gift. I was like, oh man.
I walked in with it like,
I was like, oh man, I'm honored. I'm honored. I mean, you know, hey, I don't accept gifts. I'm honored. I do want to ask you this. You always have something going on. What gets you up in the morning? Because I mean, you guys have great energy. I feed off that energy every time I see you guys. What gets you up in the morning to do what you do, to do the work in the community?
Well, we have a lot of like-minded people in our organizations that are trying to capitalize on the same thing. Just the fact that we know that the kids are actually winning by coming out to our facility and doing some of the things we do, whether they play baseball at the next level, it doesn't matter to us. We just, our goal is to make sure that they go get some higher form of education, and through that avenue we try to make sure that we engage them in what we call our teen engagement program, where we have them meet people like you, and hopefully they'll find and say, hey, I want to be like Nick. So what we'll do is we use every resource that we have. We'll probably bring them in here so they can see what you do on a daily basis, and then they'll say, okay, well, this is what I want to do. So we try to target a career path for them, and once they finish with high school, they don't finish high school and take 2 or 3 years to try to figure it out. They'll just start being productive after they finish high school.
Anytime, Tommy, I want you to answer that question too, but I want to say anytime any of these kids want to come in here, tour the station, just be a fly on the wall, if they have any questions, you're welcome and feel free.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
The doors are open.
Yes, sir.
I want you to answer that question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I think that's a big part of it is that, you know, when these kids, and Morris will say it best, is that, you know, major league citizens, right? We're not out there to make Major League Baseball players. We're out there to make, you know, Major Major League citizens. And, if, examples of that is, there are so many other jobs. If you love the game of baseball, there's so many other jobs in it. I made a career in PR because I love baseball so much, and now being here with the Knothole Foundation and, being in the community every day is been amazing to me. So, but no, and that's the beauty of this is, and we talk about it all the time. It's not about the on the field. It's about the opportunities, the access that the kids that we work with aren't able to just get. And we talk about the other sports, but baseball is a very expensive sport. I know it now with my son, and you see some of these kids that have the, and we don't, but we, the $300 bats and gloves, and it's a very expensive sport. And so there are a lot of challenges with baseball, and that's why I think our organizations to be able to be there for these kids is really important. We hope to do an equipment drive soon. If kids need gloves or bats, we want to be able to help provide that as well. So we have a lot of events coming up. You can check out knotholecarolinas.org for all the information. West Side Story in April is a big event. I'm sure we'll be back again to talk about that. And then our Diversity in Baseball HBCU Showcase in August is going to be a great event.
Be back for that too.
We'll be back for that. We're working with Minority Baseball Prospects, another great organization. So I'd love to come back in and talk about one of their big events coming up. So a lot of great things going on.
Major League citizens, thank you guys. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing in the community.
Absolutely.
Y'all doing incredible work. I say this all the time, but you got a fan in me. I'm a big fan. Tommy Viola, Morris Madden. Check it out. Knothole Foundation hosting that free MO Day baseball clinic for area youth on MLK Day, January 19th, if you need to mark it on the calendar. Can registration still open?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't want to lie to the folks. Registration is still open. Yes. Check them out now. knotholecarolinas.org, right? That's where they can register. You guys, thank you, man. We got to make this happen. I mean, we only usually it's just Tommy and Morris separately. We got to make this happen. Both of you guys. Got to bring your lovely wife.
All right.
To the studio.
I'll make sure.
Next.
Hey, I want to get you to throw a first pitch one of these days.
I'm down.
Let's get
Look,
you.
I got my, you know what I'm saying, I've been working out. I'm right-handed. You're left-handed, right?
I'm left-handed.
I'm a right-handed, so I think I got it. I think I got it.
Okay.
Put March 28th on your calendar.
March 28th?
Yeah, please.
All right. I'm a March baby. March 12th is my birthday. That's
There
a
you
great
go.
birthday. Okay, all right. I'm going to do it. All right. Let's head to break. Thank you guys for stopping by.
All right, guys, we are going to go to break. We'll take a 2-minute break and come right back after this. We'll see you then. And we're back. We're going to go to a micro transit option meeting that happened in Salisbury not too long ago. We'll catch up with you and go to this right now.
Director with the City of Salisbury. We appreciate you joining us today to celebrate the launch of Salisbury Connect, our new microtransit pilot project, which starts Monday, January 19th. As we continue with this ceremony, I would like to recognize a few individuals and partners who played a significant role in making this project possible, and ask them to come forward and deliver a few remarks. We will start with Mayor Tamara Sheffield, followed by Brennan Fuqua with the North Carolina Department of Transportation Integrated Mobility Division. Then we have David Rue, the North Carolina Public Transportation Association Executive Director. And we'll follow up with Mr. James Lewis, the Customer Service Manager with Downtowner. At this time, I will turn it over to Mayor Sheffield, who would then be followed by Mr. Fuqua, Mr. Rue, and then Mr. Lewis.
Well, all right. How is everybody? All right. Yeah, let's do this. Well, let's get connected, right? With Salisbury Connect. Thank you all for being here today. I would like to, first of all, welcome our elected officials. I know we have Pat Sledge from Spencer, so thank you so much. And Patricia? Pamela, I'm so sorry, from Spencer as well. Thank you guys for being here. Very important for Spencer and East Spencer. The route that we're testing is part of their community, so thank you all so much for being here, for supporting our big launch today. We also have Council Member Harry McLaughlin and Jamel Black. Thank you both for being here today. Unfortunately, our other council members could not be here today due to conflicts. I would also like to thank former council member and Mayor Pro Tem David Post for being here today. Thank you so much for being here, and just everybody that's been involved. This has been a fairly long journey. I would say 5-ish, 6-ish, 7-ish years since we first started talking about this. 8 years, so there you go. But we're very thankful for the fact that we have had a lot of partners across multiple communities to make today happen. This program has been funded from a grant from the North Carolina Department of Transportation Rural Surface Transportation Grant. So we're very thankful to make that connection, to have that partnership to allow us to help our citizens in Spencer citizens and East Spencer citizens. So we're very excited for that. This will be a pilot project. I'm sure more experts will be up to talk about this, right, Rodney?
Yes.
Yes, see. Thank you. I don't have to be an expert today. But we're very excited. This Salisbury Connect, this service meets a lot of the Salisbury City's strategic goals and plans. It's about giving services to our communities, about using a microtransit program to make sure we're getting connected from neighborhoods, getting residents to the services that they need, growing economic opportunities, and improving our mobility across our city. We're super excited that our partners are the Downtowner. So thank you guys for being here. They've been a microtransit service provider. This is your first venture into the state of North Carolina, I believe. And so we're so excited with the experience that you bring to us from other places. So you've proven it there, and we're excited to see it happen here with our pilot program. Again, we're excited for this opportunity. It's all about being connected, and it wouldn't happen if a lot of these agencies had not been connected with our vision to make this happen. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to whoever was next. Sorry. I'm not even going to try to say that.
That's okay.
So thank you all again for being here.
All right, how do I follow that up? Almost just got to say ditto, so thank you for teaming me up there. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brennan Fuqua. I'm the Director of the Integrated Mobility Division with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So that's a mouthful. So I got through that. We should be okay from here on out. I will say Really excited to be here. Really excited to see this many people excited about public transportation. I will say I almost didn't make it because I ran into the little cat cafe up the road and kind of got lost with the cats that were riding around. So, but no, just again, so excited for this program. So excited to see all of this excitement from the mayor here to the city council members to members of the neighboring communities. It really is an honor to be here on behalf of NCDOT. This is a major milestone for this community. The launch of this microtransit system is just something to really celebrate, and for me to give my congratulations to, and to give congratulations to everybody involved in this. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for my team, so you know, I'm not the one who should be taking the credit up here, but I do want to acknowledge Darcy Downs, who works in the Integrated Mobility Division. She's our project team lead. I'll talk a little bit more about the grant there, but there's 11 communities that were part of this grant, and Darcy has been the linchpin at NCDOT, making sure that moves forward. Also here with us is our partners with ITRI, so Kai Monist with ITRI. They do a lot of the work on making sure that the route planning makes sense, making sure that it works with the local communities. Microtransit is different in every single community, and it's that individual uniqueness of these programs that make it so exciting and so impactful on the communities. We also have members from VHB with Livia and Connor over here. They were the consultant that helped us keep everything organized. So they were an extension of NCDOT. Thank y'all for all the work that y'all have done. But yeah, as Mayor Sheffield said, this has been many years in the making. The grant that was created was in 2022. So as most of y'all know, the tides of government, especially funding, move slowly. It has to be intentional, especially when you get the federal government involved in things. But it's taken years of planning, collaboration, problem solving, persistence, all of those buzzwords, but they really truly are important to make these things happen. And these things don't happen by accident. They happen because local leaders identified a need 8 years ago, or however long ago it has been. They've committed to innovation and stayed focused on improving the quality of life for the people that they've served. And that's what we're celebrating here today. Salisbury is one of 11 communities across North Carolina that received over $20 million to make sure microtransit was set up in their systems. Half of that is federal funds and the other half is state funds, and it shows the commitment that we at NCDOT and the federal government have to moving more advancements through making sure public transportation is universal, public transportation is opening up access for all. And microtransit represents a new chapter on how we think about mobility. Traditional transit systems remain vital, but we know they don't always meet every need. Fixed routes have schedules that can possibly leave gaps for individuals, especially for seniors or people with disabilities or workers that work non-traditional hours, or residents that live farther away from traditional corridors, from major corridors where fixed route services really thrive. Microtransit is an opportunity to fill those gaps. By offering more flexible on-demand services,